That opening shot of The Sound of Music is really the quintessential picture postcard shot, really. And yet that we had such terrible difficulties shooting that scene.
Think you know every frame of The Sound of Music? Think again. This treasured musical hides a parade of slip-ups that sneaked right onto the big screen. Most viewers sit back and sing along without spotting a thing, yet hidden blunders peek out like bright buttons on a dark coat. Today we dust them off one by one. When the camera stopped rolling, the crew swapped secret stories about tiny errors too costly to reshoot, proving that budget and daylight often went over perfection. Those anecdotes later became set legends whispered on studio tours. Grab your imaginary magnifying glass, because we are diving deep into each error, and you will never watch the movie the same way again. Number 20, Maria had zero practice with a guitar. Julie Andrews dazzled as Maria, yet she had never strummed a single chord before production began. She scrambled through crash lessons so she could sing and pick at the same time, and it rattled her nerves while bright lights blazed. Every evening in her Salzburg hotel room, she practiced finger positions until her fingertips throbbed, only to fumble again when the director called action. The crew often stopped rolling while she reset her rhythm, adding precious minutes to an already tight shooting day. To calm her shaking hands before tricky takes, she reportedly sipped a tiny gulp of strong Austrian schnapps to settle down. Even so, the pressure felt intense, because one missed chord could ruin an emotional scene. Christopher Plummer, cast as Captain Von Trapp, also booked guitar and voice sessions, but the final soundtrack swapped his efforts for a hired professional. What you hear is not Plummer's own serenade, but a studio ghost singer and player. He joked later that it saved the audience from his wobbly high notes. Number 19. Kim Carruth could not swim. Remember the playful rowboat that flips? Behind the lens, it turned downright terrifying. Little Kim Carruth, who played Gretel, had never learned to swim. Cameras rolled. The boat jerked. Everyone tumbled into deep water, and panic followed. Water rushed over her tiny head, while heavy costumes dragged her down. She flailed and gasped as the cold lake closed around her. Julie Andrews was meant to scoop Gretel up fast, yet she lost her footing and splashed backward. Crew members yelled and sprinted toward the bank with poles and ropes. Gretel swallowed mouthfuls of water and became so sick that she threw up on Heather Menzies' Louisa on screen. After a quick check by the set medic, she rested bundled in blankets. But that day remains one of the most frightening moments on set. Number 18, Christopher Plummer disliked the entire job. Captain Von Trapp may look stern on film, yet his actor felt even grumpier off camera. Christopher Plummer called the movie that movie, and even joked it was S&M or The Sound of Mucus. He thought the story dripped with too much sugar. During long breaks, he lounged at nearby cafes tasting rich pastries and sampling local beer, and the habit caught up fast. To cope with boredom, he lingered at the buffet and bars, packing on pounds so quickly that the costume team had to resize his uniform more than once. Rumors swirled about his sharp tongue during dialogue rehearsals, though other cast members later said he stayed professional when the camera rolled. Years later, he laughed about his mood swings and admitted he finally respected the joy the public found in the film. Number 17. The real Von Trapp mansion never appears. The grand home glowing on screen is a clever mashup. One estate supplied the fancy front, while a different property gave the stately back. Every cozy interior came from a Hollywood soundstage, not Salzburg stone. Painters aged new with the fake centuries of wear, and carpenters installed creaky floors so footsteps echoed just right. Even the nunnery courtyard was a replica built by designer Boris Levin so perfectly that many viewers still think it was a genuine abbey. He studied hundreds of photos, copied each cracked stone, and fooled almost everyone. The spooky graveyard scene where the family hides from soldiers? Not Austria at all. It stood on the Fox lot in California. Number 16. Edelweiss is not an Austrian folk anthem. Edelweiss feels like a song born in Alpine meadows, yet was penned in the United States for the Broadway show. All those authentic Alpine melodies came straight from the minds of Rodgers and Hammerstein. They studied traditional waltzes and rural hymns, then blended those flavors into something new. This tender tune was their final collaboration, and heartbreak shadowed its release because Oscar Hammerstein passed away 9 months after the stage debut in 1960. To make matters more confusing, radio stations in Europe sometimes announce a melody as a time-honored folk piece, which only cemented the myth. Even historians have had to step in and remind listeners that the tune is Broadway-born, not mountain-bred. Popularity soared so high that guides in Austria sometimes played the track for tourists who never guessed its real origin. Number 15, Maria signed away her rights for peanuts. Back in 1956, a German producer offered Maria von Trapp $10,000 for movie rights to her memoir. She asked for future profits, but he claimed foreign citizens could not collect royalties under German law. The story sounded official, so Maria agreed. Weeks later, he reappeared waving $9,000 in cash, and she would close the deal on the spot. Needing the income, she accepted. Maria later learned the law was a lie, and the producer walked off with total control for a bargain price. When she discovered the trick, the contract was airtight, and no court action could undo it. Rogers and Hammerstein felt the injustice and quietly shared a slice of the play and film earnings with the family. It was generous, yet still only a fraction of what the Von Trapps might have earned had they kept ownership. Maria never grew bitter. She often said the hope the story spread across the globe mattered more than money. Her upbeat spirit still inspires fans. Number 14, Maria was hired for one student, not 7. Real life began much smaller than the script suggests. In 1926, George Von Trapp needed a tutor for his daughter Maria, who was struck with scarlet fever and could no longer walk 4 miles to school. He visited Naumburg Abbey and asked for help. The sisters chose 21-year-old Maria Augusta Kuchera, a former teacher training in the Abbey, while she recovered from her own health troubles. The plan was simple. She would instruct the girl for 10 months, then take final vows to become a nun. At first, she felt shy inside the grand villa and feared she might fail. Yet her cheerful songs lifted the sick child's mood, and soon the other children gathered to listen. Fateful bonds formed, invitations piled up, and before long Maria's temporary role turned permanent. Fate had other ideas. That short stay stretched into years as she bonded with the whole brood, and history turned her into the most famous governess ever. Ever wondered what secrets hide behind the sunny smiles of The Sound of Music? Every fact you thought you knew is about to turn upside down. Number 13, casting Julie Andrews as Maria. Screenwriter Ernest Lehman pounded away at his keys with one voice in his head, Julie Andrews. He imagined her as Maria from line 1 and refused to budge. Yet when director Robert Wise joined the project, he pictured a different lead. Maybe Grace Kelly stepping out of royal life, or Shirley Jones bringing Broadway's sparkle to Austria. That debate ended the afternoon. Wise slipped into a Disney cutting room and previewed rough Mary Poppins reels. Andrews flowed across the screen, sang with crystal tone, and owned every frame, leaving Wise stunned. Even Andrews needed convincing, afraid the movie might drown in syrup, like some stage performances. Lehman and Wise promised grit under the sweetness, real family tension, and honest emotion, which calmed her nerves. She then inked a 20th Century Fox contract worth $225,000, a jaw-dropping payday for a rising star. During filming, she practiced guitar between takes, laughed through retakes, and set such a positive tone that veteran actors joked the production ran on Julie's smile. Test audiences cheered her entrance, and the studio knew lightning had struck. Today, her Maria remains one of cinema's most beloved performances, proving that sometimes the first instinct is the perfect choice. Number 12. Von Trapp was a loving father. The movie paints Captain George Von Trapp as a chilly taskmaster who blows a whistle like a drill sergeant. Yet the real man greeted his children with warmth and jokes. He loved whistles and sailor suits, but he never marched the kids in lines. Family stories describe a widower juggling grief, music lessons, and bills while still reading bedtime tales and sneaking pastries from the kitchen. Writer Tom Santopietro dug into diaries and found it was stepmother Maria who struggled most with gentleness because of her strict childhood. Youngest son Johannes told the BBC his father was a very charming man, generous, open, and not the strict military-style parent shown in the movie. Maria begged the studio to soften George's on-screen persona, yet executives kept a stern mask for drama. Friends recalled George strumming folk tunes, applauding rehearsals, and laughing so loudly the maids downstairs could time supper by the echo. far from a cold commander. He was a caring parent with a whistle, and that single misunderstanding still annoys the Von Trapp descendants. Number 11. Father Wozner erased from the movie. When the Great Depression shattered the Von Trapp savings, the family rented rooms to keep their Salzburg villa afloat, and one tenant rewrote their destiny. Father Franz Wozner, an energetic priest with sharp ear, overheard their hymns and sensed brilliance. He introduced breath drills, complex madrigals, and soon molded the clan into a concert-ready ensemble. Wozner did far more than wave a baton, booking trains, negotiating fees, translating papers, and soothing stage fright moments before curtain calls. He also shared the danger of Nazi surveillance, slipping across borders beside them to keep their voices alive. Author Tom Santopietro later crowned him the driving musical force behind the Trapp family singers. Yet the film sweeps him aside, swapping in slick promoter Max Detweiler, because producers fear a priest might distract from Maria's story. Imagine giving years of guidance only to vanish from a famous version of events. During long coach rides, he taught the children Latin hymns, scribbled arrangements on ticket stubs, and kept spirits high with card tricks that sent Gretel into joyful fits. Number 10. Maria was far from quiet. The film shows novice Maria gliding through abbey halls with eyes downcast, yet the real Maria Augusta Kuchera was a lightning bolt of energy. Orphaned early and raised by a stern uncle, she learned to be loud to be heard. Entering Naumburg Abbey, she smashed dishes, sang folk songs during silent work, and whistled Gregorian chants just to shock the sisters. One day she climbed onto the cloister roof for fresh air, startling gardeners who thought an angel had escaped a painting. In a 1980 interview, she laughed that she had been horrid, the worst you could imagine, recalling courtyard sprints when she was supposed to walk in contemplation. She even staged a mock parade with kitchen pots as drums, leading novices in secret laughter before Mother Abbess appeared. So while the movie bends her into a shy daydreamer, the real Maria crackled with life, and that spark later helped her bond with 7 grieving children and charm audiences everywhere. Number 9. Maria was unsure about marrying the captain. Viewers melt when Maria and George declare love on screen, yet their real marriage sprouted from duty, not fairy tale fire. George was 25 years older, a submarine hero grieving his late wife, while Maria was a spirited 21-year-old governess focused on healing his eldest daughter. After months of lessons and laughter, George feared losing her and gently asked her to stay forever as mother to the children. Maria agreed because their smiles mattered more than her own plans, later admitting she might have refused a direct romantic proposal. They wed in 1927 inside Naumburg Abbey, long before Nazi threats loomed. Years of travel, financial loss, and nightly music drew them close, and true affection finally bloomed. Letters revealed George teasing Maria about her runaway guitar rhythms, and Maria joking about his misbuttoned jackets. Hollywood shrank that decade of growth into one whirlwind year, hiding a slow-burn love story behind bright stage lights. Number 8. The Trapp family didn't sneak over mountains. The climactic scene of the family trekking over peaks is thrilling, but it never happened. Archives show a calm exit on a public train during daylight, with the family acting as if heading to a concert. They were not alone. Reverend Franz Wozner and Secretary Martha Zachbar rode along, chatting with conductors to avoid suspicion. Because George was born in a region later assigned to Italy, he held Italian papers, so checkpoints posed no barrier. From Italy, they reached London and sailed for New York. In America, they toured coast to coast, paying for meals with Harmony instead of hidden gold. By 1950, they settled in Stowe, Vermont, converting a hilltop farm into a 27-room lodge that still welcomes visitors. Their clever planning showed bravery of another kind, trading risky mountain passes for calm confidence that saved every voice in the choir. Think the movie already revealed every secret? The next fact will flip your view of the Von Trapps upside down, and the last one saved the entire studio from ruin. Number 7. The Von Trapp family wasn't rolling in gold. On screen, the family glides through marble halls, yet real life was far harsher. The Great Depression hit Austria hard. Their bank failed, and decades of savings vanished overnight. Servants were let go, lawns went wild, and spare rooms were rented to tourists just to keep doors open. Renting bedrooms felt jarring for a clan once known for elegant dinners, but bills demanded action. Music soon switched from hobby to income, though Captain George flinched at the idea of applause. Daughter Leonore later recalled, "It almost hurt her father to have his family on stage," explaining he feared public life might crush their privacy. Need still trump pride, so they sang at town festivals and shocked critics by winning first prize in an Austrian contest in 1936. Cheers poured in, invitations followed, and their voices carried them worldwide, with America becoming their safe harbor when war shadows crept across Europe. Number 6. Hollywood gave the children brand new names. 7 movie kids became icons, yet none share their true names. The real lineup, Rupert, Agathe, Maria, Werner, Hedwig, Johanna, and Martina, sounded less lyrical to producers. So every child was renamed and even reassigned ages or genders for better story flow. Audiences fell for 16-year-old Liesl twirling in 16 going on 17, but oldest son Rupert was actually a grown doctor by then. The wildest twist, one daughter was also named Maria, so the film would have shown 2 Mariahs in the same living room. Screenwriters opted for clean storytelling over strict accuracy, and the hidden names stayed hidden for years. Number 5. Their love of music started long before governesses and guitars. The film shows a stern Captain banning songs, yet real George constantly filled halls with melodies. He and his first wife treasured quartets and taught harmony to every child from cradle days. Maria the governess simply poured gasoline on an already glowing fire, shaping casual sing-along evenings into polished performances fit for Salzburg's famous festival. Winning gold at that event was no miracle montage. It grew from years of ear training, scale drills, and a father who tapped time on the dining table between courses. Number 4. The wedding happened a decade before Nazi flags. Movie magic places vows in 1938 for nail-biting tension, yet real rings were exchanged on 26 November 1927. Maria was 22, George 47, and Europe still believed peace would last forever. Maria admitted she first loved the children, not the captain, and only later realized her heart had quietly fallen for their father too. When Nazi pressure finally darkened Austria, the couple had already built a solid team, raised the younger siblings, and welcomed 3 new babies of their own. Their marriage was forged in calm days, not forged by fear. Number 3. 3 younger siblings never made the final cut. After tying the knot, George and Maria welcomed Rosemarie in 1929, Eleanor in 1931, and Johannes in 1939. Time limits pushed filmmakers to stop at 7 children, fearing 10 names, 10 voices, and 10 character arcs would drown the plot. Johannes arrived in Philadelphia while the family toured America, proving the Von Trapp story stretches far beyond the Austrian Alps audiences remember. Number 2. Christopher Plummer tried to dodge the captain's uniform. Director Robert Wise pictured Plummer commanding the screen, but the actor groaned at the script and walked away more than once. He disliked the stiff dialogue and worried the role felt flat. Wise flew to London, pitched a sharper vision, and promised Plummer room to reshape lines with the writer. At last the actor relented, joking later that he signed on only after enough coaxing and good wine. Fox had already spent $1,025,000 for film rights, so the studio crossed fingers that Plummer's reluctant yes would pay off, and it did, spectacularly. Number 1. The Sound of Music yanked 20th Century Fox back from the edge. Fox nearly collapsed under Cleopatra's runaway costs, a budget that blasted from $2 million to $44 million and left accountants in tears. Executives eyed The Sound of Music with caution, fearing audiences had cooled on musicals, but opening week lines wrapped city blocks. By late 1965, the film topped the yearly box office, and by November 1966, it outsold every movie ever released, even dethroning Gone with the Wind. Profits flooded studio vaults, debts melted, and production that almost stalled in uncertainty rescued an entire company from bankruptcy. One delightful song about Hills literally kept Hollywood's lights on. Love uncovering hidden truths? Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and leap into the next video waiting on your screen.